so an example at Starbucks. I'll give you probably the best example that I could possibly give you. It was early on, and one day I get a call from a guy named Jim. He was a store manager up on Broadway. And he called me and he said, I need to come talk to you and Howard. Now, Howard knew him really well because he'd been there when Howard was long before I was there. And so I said, okay, Jim, but is there anything that I can handle for you? I thought, well, I can maybe, be executive. I can handle the price. He says, no, I really need to talk to the both of you. So I said, okay, I'll set it up. And so we set up the date, and he shows up, and I go get him at the front desk and bring him back, and we walk into Howard's office, and Howard was on the phone. And so we sat down in the love seat and waited for Howard to get off the phone, and we're talking. And then Howard gets off the phone, and Howard and Jim talk because they knew each other real well. And then I'm an A-type personality, I said, so Jim, what can we do for you? And Jim just looked at Howard, and he said, I need to tell you both that I have AIDS and I'm dying. Now, this was in 1989, early days of AIDS. And we didn't know a lot. We knew some things, but we didn't know a lot. And Howard, looked at him, and a tear came down Howard's eyes, and he just said, Jim, God, I'm so sorry. What can we do for you? How do we help you? And Jim said, well, I'd like to work as long as I can work. And I don't know what that's going to be. Now, remember, we're in the food and beverage business, and we didn't know whether AIDS was a virus or what it was. And Howard just looked at him and said, Jim, you work as long as you want to work. And if being a store manager gets too difficult, we'll find something else for you to work. But you're here as long as you want to be here and can be here. And then Howard looked at him and said, Jim, how are you going to handle your health care? Once you can't work anymore. And Jim said, well, there's agencies that are developed now that are willing to help us and to give us resources and sometimes a place to live. And Howard looked at him and said, look, even when you stop working, we'll continue to pay your salary, 100%. And then he said, and not only that, but we will pay all your health care costs. We will cover you on our insurance until you pass away. Now, remember, I'm 2 months at the company. I had strong values, but never did I thought I'd face something like that. And
yeah, what about the precedent? Does that mean everybody
gets
sick?
And so here we were. Here's a CEO, young CEO. We're losing money. Howard was 32. I was 44. And, Howard never run anything before, but he was willing to commit of his resources, knowing that we didn't have the money. But he cared like he really meant it. Now, what kind of message do you think that sent to me? From that moment on, I knew I could do everything I needed to do for another human being inside of Starbucks. That, I could make those decisions. And that message went throughout the organization.